Hello and welcome to Riverbend. My husband felt it was really important that we share another property that we are the stewards of so that you could also appreciate our city garden in a whole new light. Because often people think that that city garden must take all my time every day from dusk to dawn. And I think it's really important that you realize that that garden was designed to be as low maintenance as possible. So the reason why we have it so low maintenance is because we enjoy another property that we call Riverbend, and that's the vista that you're seeing in front of you. This garden is more a zone 3, zone 4. It's a couple of acres out in a rural area in southeastern Ontario. It's very, very quiet here, so I'm just going to let you listen to the quiet for a second. Isn't that beautiful? This is a very different type of what Ontarians call cottaging because it's not your typical cottage. It could be called a hottage is one of the words that people use, which is sort of like a home and a cottage together. But we call it Riverbend because it's kind of a rural property instead of a cottage on a big lake with all sorts of motorized vehicles. This is more about peace and calm and serenity. So I'm just going to take you on a quick little tour of the property so you get a chance to see all the different gardens that we have here and how we figured out how to make this a low maintenance property as well. So let's just go for a little walk. I'm going to take you up a hill. But before I do that, I do want to just mention that when you're using rural landscapes for any sort of design work, to make sure that you take things that are part of the landscape and make them part of your design. Here in front of us, we have this stunning rock, and over the years, it had all sorts of trees that had grown up on it, like over here, and it surrounded the whole thing. It wasn't originally like that, and so last year we cut them all down, and we are just delighted to see this beautiful rock again. Look at all the moss and the lichen that's all over this rock. And the previous owners had planted it up. Let me see if I can just scroll this down for you. Oh, sorry, the other way. So you can see all of this beautiful sedum. And I love the way that they chose this burgundy sedum and put this nice bright green piece right in the middle of it. Over the years, grasses have grown in here. And so we're trying to get this back to more of its previous state just by using a whippersnipper to cut down what's in there and leave the beautiful plants that we do want to see, like these lovely flowers here. They look a little bit like rudbeckia, but they're definitely not black-eyed Susans. So let me just take you up the hill here. That's my neighbor. They got a rooster. New neighbors, so they have some chickens and roosters, and we get to hear that in the morning. I don't mind. It's actually really a charming kind of country feel. There is a saying that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. And so when we got this property 12, 13 years ago, one of the first things we did was plant trees. Or I should say, my husband planted trees. He planted all of these beautiful red and white pine. They were seriously like 3 inches tall and just a single stem. And now they are these beautiful 20-foot tall trees. In front of them, we have a bunch of sumacs that have naturalized into the area. We also planted a bunch of staghorn sumac as well. And those tall trees that you see just there, those are poplars, and we put them all along the side of the driveway so it would have sort of this beautiful allée kind of look. Up here at the top of our property, it has all these really interesting paths. It's almost like a maze when you walk through them. So the maintenance that we have in this area is really just about trimming things back when they get too long like this. And the reason we trim things back is no one wants to get wet when they walk down these pathways. But these pathways are just all sorts of directions as you're up in the hills here. So let me just walk you down, and you can just sort of see how high all of these beautiful white pines and red pines are, just giving a really nice privacy screen out to the road. One of the things that we really love about this field up here, this is some Queen's Anne's lace. We love how the way it closes up, and I love to do photography up here. Every year I do a whole study just on the milkweed that is abundant through this area. You can see that it's already started to color this year, which is a little unusual. I almost feel like there's a disease that's hitting it. But there are a lot of really beautiful buds. And in another 3 weeks, these buds here, let's see if I can focus on one for you. Right here. One of these buds here, they will start to open up and all the seeds will be ready. And it's just some of the most beautiful photography that you could do, especially as the light changes. Over here is an apple tree. My husband trimmed that back, see if we could get more apples on it. Our neighbors' horses sometimes come over and chomp on it. We're not really eating those apples, but we can get them to the point where we can enjoy them. That would be great. And as I walk down here, you can see that I have trees on both sides here. We have both the white and red pines on the left-hand side, but we also have these beautiful cedars. Not cedars, sorry, spruce that my husband planted. He also planted cedars. Sometimes we get some really cool looking mushrooms. As you can see right here. And in the fall, those mushrooms sometimes get beautiful little seed pods on them, and they make for beautiful light filled images. Now, as we walk down here, you'll see that these branches have started to actually creep into the overall walkway, and it's getting really hard to walk. So my plan is for my winter urns that I make at the city property, I will be trimming these back and using them so I don't have to invest in additional dollars for the actual urns that I make. So you can see it's gotten really tight. And again, all we do here is we run our lawnmower. It's been a summer of ducking below these so that we get the right length on these things for my winter arrangements. It's the first time we're doing it, so I'm curious how it's going to work out. I'll even be able to use some of these beautiful spruce tips as well. By the way, spruce tips in the spring also make beautiful things. You can make spruce tip vinegar, spruce tip salt. I've made the salt, and it is the most amazing salt that you can make to finish off things like salmon. So I'm going to walk you over so you can see the LA that we built. Some of these poplars have come in really nice, and some have not survived at all. Let's see if I can sort of give you an upper view. Here we go. So it just sort of goes right down the whole path, looking good. Here's another view of that hill that we were just exploring. And I don't know if you can see them, but there is all sorts of paths, like there's one here, here, and they grow throughout the whole thing. So it's just a really calm and peaceful thing to walk those paths, much like you would if you were in a maze and you were just walking through. It's beautiful up there, and taking your camera and getting the way that the light hits all the different plant species up there. It's pretty incredible. Now I'm just going to show you a couple of other parts, and then I'll take you up to the gardens in the front as well. So all of these paths were created by the previous owner. However, they were just grass. And so when we bought the property, again, more trees were planted along here. And this is so we have a privacy shield between us and our neighbor. When we bought the property, it was just a field next door and now has had several neighbors living there um, after something was built. It's a beautiful property, and we still want privacy even though we really like our neighbors. So there's all these really cool paths, and if I was to turn around, you can see how it's just created this beautiful wall of these spruce trees. And even over here, we also have some pines tucked in there, because all of this greenery that you see does lose its leaves in the fall, so it's no longer private. So this just gives us a really nice little screen of greenery, and when the snow covers it, it's beautiful. The other thing that this place is abundant with is all sorts of raspberry bushes, which if you've ever cut the lawn with a raspberry bush in front of you, it's not a pleasant experience as the thorns all hit you. Yesterday we had 18 wild turkeys walk through the property. I doubt we'll get to see them, but it's pretty cool to see all of these different species. So again, the work that we do down here is just doing a riding lawnmower, clipping anything that sort of falls into the path. And we do that every couple of weeks. Usually when we have guests coming, we don't mind if something hits us a little bit and makes us wet. But typically, most other people don't appreciate that. We're coming down to an area that is quite cool. I'm going to show you. We had a beaver that took residency just down here in the water. Yeah, there's a pretty little river I'm about to show you. But you can see here that we had a beaver friend. There's how they knot things. And so my husband came and just really sort of finished up his job, because all of these pieces were covering the walkway here, and nobody wants to have a walkway covered in beaver trees because they're quite messy, and they come and they take all of the greenery down and use all that greenery for their little home in the water. I'm going to show you the size of the beaver pathway, because he was using this pathway right to this end right here, where he would come down and go through that hole there. My husband said when he saw him, he was the size of a bear cub. That's pretty darn big if you ask me. So just around the corner here, you come into our sort of beach area, which again is also low maintenance. It rained last night, so all the sand is a wee bit wet. Let me just take you down to the dock. So one of the things about this property that really drew us was this beautiful, pretty little river down here. It is a very calm little river. It doesn't see any traffic. There are some incredible rapids on this river. If you were into whitewater rafting, this is probably one of the ones that you'd be interested in, particularly people that do the whitewater kayaking and canoeing. It's actually part of a festival here in Ontario that people that are into doing class 3, 4, and 5 rapids go down. We tend to only do it when it's calm like this and when we know that the river is safe. You really do have to know how to do that stuff. They wear helmets and wetsuits and have a lot of gear, and they all work together to spot each other. So if you're not trained in how to do it, you have to know how to respect a river. Look how pretty that is. And you see all the little ripples in the water just from me stepping on the dock. And what's interesting is you see how lovely that looks across the water here. It's sort of as if it's a manicured park. Well, that's because our neighbors have cows, and the cows come along here, and it's really beautiful. You can sit here on the dock and just watch the cows meander down the side of the river, and there's always little calves with them as well. It's just a really, really beautiful, serene, rural experience. We swim in this water. It's quite lovely. It's got a real earthy feel. The water is dark, and that's because there's a lot of iron in it, very volcanic type of rocks. And it's a very refreshing water. It feels like you've just been in nature. And you can see there are lily pads and stuff on there, so it's not for everybody. A lot of people enjoy mostly just sitting on the dock and watching people swim, and other people love to jump in. It all depends on what your comfort level is, and there's always a lovely respect for each other for whatever anyone's comfort level is. So here is the beach part of our property. There's lots of places to sit and enjoy the views. One of our favorites is sitting right here, so that we're looking out into the river. But also here in a hot summer day, just getting a little reprieve from the sun is really nice. As well, we usually have screens up so that in the months where the black flies, the mosquitoes, the deer fly, and the horse flies are abundant, we have some protection from them. That is one of the things of being here in Ontario. If you're not in a city area, we do get lots of bugs, and you just have to either learn how to adapt or just stay in the city. And even in the city, you still get mosquitoes. So here's our kayaks. One of the things we love to do is to go out on that water when it's not high season for rapids, and we love to enjoy them. A little story about this top red one here. It's called the Snout. One time in the spring, I went out and my kayak flipped. The ice had just come off, and I thought it was a nice calm river, and I went out. We had to eventually let the kayak go because I had to save my life because the water was quite chilly. The kayak went down the river through many rapids, cracked open, and also in the front here, got all smashed up. We got it plastic welded, and this little front now looks like a snout, so it's called the Snout, like a little pig snout. And our neighbor, who has owns all of this beautiful property across the way here, took us out and showed us all the class 3, 4, and 5 rapids so that we would totally learn how to respect this river. Sometimes you have to learn the hard way, and we were very grateful that we found our kayak and that no one was harmed. So I'm just going to take you up and show you the gardens closer to the house so you can sort of see the rest of the property and experience it fully. So we're just walking up the hill again. We're going back up to the main part, or the main cabin. Just listen. Just so quiet here. I think that's one of the things that we really learn to respect is the quiet. Sure, we'll play music occasionally, but it's amazing how the quiet, the solitude can have such a beautiful effect on you. So right in front of you, what you see is our water source. This is our well, and it has that blue reflective tape on it. It also has a big rock to the right, and that's to protect it from anybody that sort of goes to drive into that area. We also have a nice Canadian flag on a hockey stick. And the bushes that you see in front of you are Wigelia, and we just trim them back every couple of years, and they do give us a beautiful abundance of pink blooms. And you can see all of the trees that we planted. They just look so good. So let me just take you in close to the house here. I'm standing in front. It's such a pretty little property. Last year we redid all of the garden here, took everything out. It had become overgrown, and it was sort of a country garden look, but over the years I didn't know which was a plant anymore, which was a weed, and it felt like it was more kind of all weed. So I knew some of the things that I wanted to keep, and that was the daylilies, this nice big bunch here, and then there's all different types of daylilies. throughout the garden here. And I used a repetitive approach to this garden. So you can see there's lots of hostas, which are extremely low maintenance, as are the daylilies. There's sedums, also low maintenance, and different types of phlox and that yellow flower that I don't know the name of. And it just kind of all works together. Now, the other thing that I did was plant some beautiful proven winners, little limelight hydrangea. And the reason I picked the little limelight over the limelight is that the little limelight is a much smaller plant, and it can grow to about 3 to 4 feet high and blooms at this throughout the summer, but really takes on this beautiful pink look as the season goes on. So I love the fact that it's sort of a piece of interest. So in the early spring, it's just leaves, and then it starts to create all of these blooms. So last year I cut them back really tight to the ground so that they would get new growth and stronger stems. And that's exactly what we got this year. And I'll do it again in the late fall. That way they don't get bent and damaged from the actual snow and ice that can occur up here. And what I did was I just did a sort of a repetitive scene to all of these. Let me just see if I can get that camera a little better for you so you can see it. There we go. So I used a repetitive planning approach to this. So the entire front is this white hosta, and these were hostas that were already on the property, and I just divided them and have been letting the roots grow bigger and bigger, and over time this will fill in quite nicely. And then I used another hosta here that is just singular in color. And then I kind of did a repeating pattern. Let's see if I can show you. So that it goes green plant, hydrangea, green hosta, and then in the front it's the 3 of the white ones. And you can see the pattern just keeps repeating itself. It's very, very simple, and yet it's really beautiful to look at. And then up at the front here, we added some really nice urns, and I'll take you through what's in them. But let me just back up so you can see that repeating pattern yet again. See how lovely it looks? It's so simple in its design and really effortless. The only thing I need to do is come and weed some of these little baby weeds that come in here to keep it under control. We actually put down an entire level of like that black fabric, and then dug only where we wanted the new things to be, and then put down a ton of mulch to keep the weeds down. We also picked up this really nice little table and chair set so that we now have this beautiful spot to enjoy meals on those hot summer days. And this is probably the only shade on the property, so it's really nice to have a spot that you can just enjoy a nice meal without the sun beating down on you. Let me just take you through what's in these plants or pots. So I tried to pick plants that were going to be low maintenance and could survive without being watered for a week. That was my criteria. And I have had tremendous success with this plant combination. They've gone as far as 2.5 weeks without any watering from me. Obviously, there was probably some water from Mother Nature, but not really a good watering because they are kind of under the birch trees that we have here. So what I planted in each one of these was a hosta. You can see that here. There's a heuchera, which is this nice burgundy colored plant, or coral bells as some of you may know it. This is creeping Jenny that goes all the way down to the bottom here. And then these are angel wing begonias. These have I have them in my city garden as well. These are such a good plant for people that don't like to do a lot of gardening. You just basically put them in the pot and away you go, and water them once a week, and they do really well. I even managed to get down in here. You can see it there, right there. That is an impatient. I think it was too shady for them. I was able to get all of these plants at a end of summer sale at my local grocer. So I thought I would try the combination, and I didn't want to tell you too much about it until I knew that it was a combination that would work. especially because I knew that there would be long periods where nobody would be here. And it has just really done well. Now, speaking about repetition, over on the other side of these plants, I have the same repetitive pattern that you can see right here. And I have a little pot right here of some more hostas that will go into the ground. And then we have more of these really nice hostas. And behind it are all sorts of daylilies. I had really run out of time at the end of the season, and all I did was put those daylilies under a pile of mulch just to protect them from the winter. And lo and behold, they all grew up all along that side of the fence, and I'm just going to leave them like that because they've figured out how to survive, and I love the way it looks. This part, I need to still finish it up. I wanted to make it a little bit bigger, put some more hostas in there, and make that a little nicer. If you pull back here, you can see that this is like a little square. Just going to see if I can show it to you a little better. And all of that square used to be the garden. So we actually pushed that whole thing back, fixed up the fence, and made it just look so much nicer. And the views from inside are really nice. There's that rock that we started with. Let me just turn around one more time. So you can see there's another little fence over here, and there's the table and chairs. And then we have just this other little garden right here, filled with hostas. Very, very easy maintenance. And at the front here, I put just a little stepway here, just to sort of acknowledge the fact that you're walking into a different room. And then over here, you can see that there are some really nice plants as well. And there's the vista that you get as you look at the property. It's just really nice. Makes you want to have a nice morning coffee out on one of those chairs or enjoy a meal. Now here's the birch trees. And you can see what that vista looks like. And over here, let me just show you a couple of other things that are my favorites. And we're just about done the tour. Hoping that you're liking this property. This garden here used to be filled with sedums, and I took all of those sedums, or hens and chicks, home, divided them, grew some of them at home, but then was going to bring them all up and replant this. And the weather 2 years ago was really quite funny, super hot and dry, not ideal conditions to plant things in. And by the time I got to planting them, the poor little hens and chicks had all died. But in here, I have an inukshuk. Actually, I have a family of inukshuks that I've built, and you can see they have been here for a while now. All the lichen has grown on them. So I'll be restoring this garden this fall, taking everything out of it. So I'll be restoring this garden this fall, taking everything out of it, and just getting it ready for some new hens and chicks, because I really did like being able to see all of those inukshuks and to see the rock. Over here, we have some beautiful echinacea in this field, or this little garden, and it is just so beautiful. There was only one plant to begin with, and it's all self-seeded itself. Just in this area, it hasn't gone into the extending field, but I really do love how this looks. And just to give you an idea, as you come close to this area, you'll also see that the rocks are also part of this garden design. Look at that beautiful, the yellow flowers with all the lichen. It's just so pretty. One of the things that we do enjoy about this property is the vista to our neighbor's field. He does hay it, so again, it being a rural property, it's just a really pretty view. So just to give you an idea of how good this all looks. So here's our back deck. There's a view to the river from it, but let me just first show you the plants. There are some big thunderstorms that are coming in. This is my second attempt at trying to do these videos, and the thunderstorms, it starts out sunny like it is right now, and then the thunderstorms come up pretty quick. So let me just quickly show you the plants, and then I'll give you a view to the river. In this particular arrangement, I also tried to explore what type of things might work well out in full sun without being watered very often. So these ones are able to survive a week, if not more, maybe 2.5 weeks without any water. One of the key tricks to that is to make sure you have really big urns that can hold a lot of soil so that there's moisture always available for the plant roots to grow deeper. What I planted in here were different types of I think they're like succulents. They're not, but they're more like a hens and chick type. I think they are winter hardy. I need to look at the tag, and we'll get you the proper information on these. But I also planted things like aloe, which I know is not winter hardy. But I really wanted to see what sort of plants we would get. And these ones started out about that big, and you can see how big they have come over the winter or the summer. And we have this pretty little gray plant back there. But I really do like the way this arrangement looks. I love the fact that there's multiple colors in it. See if I can get that down so you can see it better. It's just so pretty. So I really do like the way that all of the plant combinations come together in this arrangement. Next year, I may just go with the purple fountain grass and just let that be a singular thing. We'll have to see what survives the winter time. But here's our nice little deck up here. And we just have like the table and chairs. You can see there's 2 of these urns. And in the distance there, you can see the river and our view to the river. So just finishing up the tour here, I've also used the same repetitive approach to the other side of the house where I have the hydrangeas and all of the hostas, and they're on both sides of the entranceway here, of our side entrance. And as you come around the back here or into the front, I'm just going to end the tour here by thanking you very much for coming on this tour of Riverbend and seeing the gardens in all of their abundance. Again, gardening can be as complicated or as simple as you would like it to be. The gardens that I've created both here and in my city property are meant to be lower maintenance, and I have found that also low maintenance means different things to different people. For some, low maintenance means just grass, and for other people it means the occasional weeding and watering, and for other people low maintenance is I want to spend 20 hours in my yard because I find that relaxing. Because I have 2 properties, each property has to be substantially low maintenance with about under 5 hours a week of work in it. By the time we cut the lawn, it takes us an hour and a half, which is kind of fun to be on a riding lawnmower. We don't need to do it every time we're up here, so it's not hours and hours of work every time, but we do try to make the place look nice for us. The weeding takes me probably a half an hour with all the new gardens, and again, I don't always do that either. It just depends on the weather and who we have up. So it's pretty low maintenance. I'd say the longest amount of time I've spent is on watering, and I really just have the 3 pots over here, the 2 gray ones and then that one with the hostas. I have 2 by the door and one that has some lilac and then or lavender, and then the ones that are in the back. But because this garden, we only did it last October, I've made sure that the hydrangeas have water as well as all the hostas. Especially during the drier parts of the summer. We're on a well here, so you have to be very mindful about your watering, and we really made sure that we watered just at the actual root bases so that the water got into the areas that we needed it to be. And I'd say it was a good strategy. The garden looks fabulous. Extremely happy with it. Thanks again for coming on this tour. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see the monthly update to my city garden, subscribe to the channel and you will get a monthly update on what's going on in that garden with all of the flowers. This will probably be one of the few times you'll get to see Riverbend, so I really do appreciate you guys dropping by and enjoying it with me. Take care, everyone. Please give me some comments. Let me know what you thought of this garden. And if you see anything that you would do differently, I'd love to hear your feedback. And again, just keeping in mind that it must be low maintenance, because when we come up here, really this spot is about relaxing, taking some kayaks out, sharing it with friends and family, great food and good times. Thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate all of your kindness. Take care.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button and follow along. We'd love to have you for this wonderful journey as we adventure into homesteading and all different things that have to do with the beauty of food and nature and how it all comes together to build a beautiful, fulfilling life. Take care, everyone.